In Richland County, it's rather easy to grow older, provided you are somewhat of an extrovert. The people are extraordinarily friendly and caring, but they feel too polite or too reserved to show that, unless you in a friendly way motivate them to show their caring. And then it just blossoms out and blossoms out.
I think the biggest strength in Richland County is it has a very rich and deep heritage, but its biggest strength can also kind of be its weakness. People have been there for so long. When you have someone new that comes along, how do you get down to those deep roots? Where do you even start to dig?
There's talented people here and willing to help, but they just have to sometimes be asked or included, and then they'll give you 110%.
Asset-based community development is an approach to building community capacity that is citizen-led. It starts with the community first. It starts with a focus on what their assets are rather than the challenges that we all know exist.
The other thing we always ask is three basic questions. What can we do ourselves here locally that we have the strengths and capacity to do ourselves? What can we do with a little help, meaning a little bit of support, a little incentive, right? And then the third is, what do we need someone else to do because it's beyond our capacity? And oftentimes we use the metaphor of a snow shovel, something we can do ourselves, a snow blower being something you can borrow from a neighbor with a little help, and a snow plow, meaning that we as taxpayers buy a snow plow together to do the big stuff that we can't do alone.
The first step in asset-based community development is to recruit local stakeholders and leaders and really the key connectors in the community to form a strategy team. And the strategy team's purpose is to define the aim and help bring other people to the table and really set the trajectory of the project.
The strategy team talked a lot about what were the assets of this community, and I think right at the beginning we got really excited about listing all the things that are going on in Richland County. And you know, we were like, great, aren't we a great county? We've got our newspaper and we've got our radio station, we've got our community center, our new community center is coming, there are so many card clubs and so many volunteer activities.
Then we started thinking about the people that weren't connected or that were not utilizing services. And in Richland County, there are people literally tucked away in valleys or that live 20 miles out of town or don't have a neighbor for a couple miles. And we had to start to think about them. How can we reach out to them? How can we get them connected so they don't become isolated?
We decided that social isolation is a big issue in our county, Richland County, and how to counterbalance that was finding ways to have more interdependence built with each other.
People in Richland County are more interdependent than they realize, and we define interdependent as, neighbors helping out neighbors. Using the time bank that we have, we can connect people that way. We also have a great UW campus where you can connect people with students. We also have a new senior and community center. We can use all these things to get people connected with one another.
And then from that, we started getting more nitty-gritty of it's time to go into the community and start talking to the people in the community to see what their concerns and issues and strengths, what resources do we have in our community that are there already that we can build on.
To gather information about the assets in the community, the strategy team recruited about 30 volunteers to go out and have one-on-one conversations with people. These were intentionally conversations rather than interviews because it's really about gathering the story rather than an extraction of information.
That is a piece of the puzzle that's really important. That has to be emphasized, that it's not just a training where a person interviews and we go through 6 questions. It's a dialogue that becomes a story at the end, and those stories can be connected to other stories.
We had about 160 people engaged in conversations in Richland County, and we found a lot of things from that. We categorized what they said into assets and challenges. Some of the biggest assets were definitely activities. One of the biggest ones being visiting with family and friends, reading, gardening, and cooking. We also identified some challenges in Richland County, the biggest one being transportation. People were very spread out in Richland County, and so if they lose the ability to drive, or in the winter the roads get icy, or they have a lot of deer, they don't feel comfortable driving. So that was a big challenge that we identified.
So the next steps for Richland County are to take this list of assets and challenges and to identify how the assets can be mobilized or acted upon to meet some of the challenges that they identified.
What really excites me about this particular project is the opportunity to engage local people in defining what their own assets are, because most people don't think from that vantage point. What are their assets personally? What are the associational life that makes up their community? What are the institution that makes it a great place to live?
I think already we've seen people begin to talk about some of the opportunities that are out there. The people who are doing the conversations, leading the conversations, have thought about it much more. They've brought it up in their group of friends, and that gets that group of friends to be talking about it.
There were some fantastic ideas out there, and you know, a lot of these people had never been asked these questions before, so it was like, it was a real give and take that I really enjoyed, and I wasn't really expecting that.
We have a lot of social people. They just don't know who the right connections are. And my guess is just having some of this resource available, we can make some bigger connections. It's people, really people.